The purpose of this video is to teach you how to do what's called a range check. Previously, we made a program that would calculate the letter grade that somebody earned based on an inputted numerical grade. So if I inputted a grade of 65, it would go through and try to figure out if it was an A by looking and seeing if the number was greater than 90, then it would be an A. If not, then it went and evaluated, well, was it greater than 80 but less than 90, then it was a B. No, so then it went in, was it greater than 70 but less than 80? It would have been a C. No. And then was it greater than 60 and less than 70? Yes. Then it became a D. Well, instead of having nested if-then statements like that, we can actually use a loop and an array to do what's called a range check. All right, so to do this, what we need is some arrays. We need an array to hold the grade as a numerical score, and we need another array to hold it as a letter grade. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare an array, and my first array is going to be grade number. And we're going to set this, we're going to start it at 0. And what we want to do with our range checks is we want to start with the lowest score. It makes it easier to figure it out. All right, so we're going to start off with 0. And then I need one of these for all of the different ranges that we have. So we have an F goes anywhere from 0 to 60. 60 to 70 is a D. 70 to 80 is a C. 80 and 90 is a B. And 90 and above is an A. So I'm going to make one of these grade numbers. And so this is going to be, and actually I forgot to make that an array element 1. So this is element 2 is going to be 60 because that's our next range. So let me set this as an array. So this is element 1. Okay, then we're going to have grade number 2. So actually this is 3 is going to be a C. So this is going to be a 70 or above. Grade number 4. This is going to be an 80, so this is going to be our B. And then our A is going to be grade number 5, which is going to be a 90 or above. Okay, so if I'm in the 0 to 60 range, this is our Fs. If I'm in the 60 to 70 range, this is our Ds. If I'm in the 70 to 80 range, it's a C. 80 to 90 is an A, and 90 and above is an A. Now the thing is that when I evaluate the grade, my minimum score is going to be a 0. We don't typically get negative scores. So my minimum score is a 0. But it is possible for me to have something above 90. All right, so what I want to do is when I evaluate these, I'm going to look at, is my number between 0 and 60? If it's between 0 and 60, then it must belong to this range here. Is my number between 60 and 70? Then it must belong to this range here. If my number is between 70 and 80, it must belong to this range here. If it's between 80 and 90, it must belong to this range here. And if it's between 90 and, well, there's nothing to compare it to. All right, so what I actually need to do is I only need to evaluate, is it in range 1, 2, 3, 4? And if it's not, then it must be an A. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to have the evaluation for range F, D, C, and B, and if I didn't get one of those, then it must have been an A. All right, so this is the arrays for if it's a number, but we need to do the same thing where we make an array to hold it as a letter. So I'm going to make a grade letter array, and we're going to set the first element in here to an F. And actually, I just made that a variable, which I don't want it to be. It needs to be a literal string. All right, so then we're going to do the same thing here. So D, C, B, A, and we're going to keep track of these other ones. So it's grade letter, and this is going to be 2 is a D. Grade letter 3 is a C. Grade letter 4 is a B. And grade letter 5 is an A. Okay, so now I have two parallel arrays, and the only thing that actually ties them together is the index number. So if I were to tell you that my score was an 85, I'm going to start here at the bottom. I'm going to start at 0, and I'm sorry, element 1, and evaluate, is my grade between 0 and 60? So is it greater than or equal to 0 and less than 60? So I entered 85. No, it's not. So it's not this range. So then we need to go to the next one. Okay, so now we're looking at index 2. Is my 85 greater than or equal to 60 and less than 70? No. It is greater than 60, but it's not less than 70. So this isn't the range. So then we increase our counter. We look at 3. Is my 85 greater than or equal to 70 and less than 80? No. So this isn't the right range. We increase our range by 1. Is my grade of 85 greater than 80, greater than or equal to 80, and less than 90? Yes, it is. So this must be the correct range. So what we're going to do is we're going to have something that keeps track of this number. So that way we know if we found the correct range and then what that score is. All right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to say that if it was in range 4 here, then the letter grade must be in range 4 here, and that means I got a B. All right, so what I'm going to do is I need some number to keep track, some variable to keep track of this number. So I'm going to make a variable, and we're going to call this num score index. So that way we can keep track of it. All right, so that's just simply there for the purpose of keeping track of this number. I also want to have a variable to keep track of if we found the variable. Not the variable, if we found the range. So I'm going to call this str is found. And I'm going to start this off as no, because no, we haven't. And then the other thing I need is we're going to have a counter, because we're going to have to be able to increase these. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to have a counter, and we're going to start that counter at 0. All right, so what this means is that I need to start making a loop. So my loop is going to be, can I look at these and figure out which range I'm in? All right, so here's my loop. And the question is, how do I get out of the loop? All right, so what I want to do is I want to evaluate range 0. Is it in range 0? No. Then evaluate range 1. Sorry, actually, we start with range 1. So is it range 1? No. Then we look at range 2. Is it range 2? No. Is it in range 3? No. Is it in range 4? For the example, the 85, yes, but let's say I entered a grade of 106. All right, so in that case, it's not in this range. It must be in this range. Do I have to evaluate range 5? No, I don't, because if it's not in any of these other 4, then we can ignore this. Well, if 5 is our highest number, I only want to evaluate one less than our highest number. Well, the 5 is the length of our array. So what I want to do is I want to evaluate until we get to this 4, which means I can look at something like when our counter is equal to the length of our grade number array. Oops. As long as I type it right. Length of grade number minus 1. Because the length of the grade number is going to be 5, but I only need to evaluate to the 4th one. The problem is if I try to evaluate the last one there and one above it, I won't find that one above it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my counter, and the first thing I'm going to look at is my range of 0 to 60. You'll notice that the index here is 1 and the index here is 2. If this is my k, my counter, then 2 must be k plus 1. If 2 is my k, then 3 is 1 more than k, so 3 is k plus 1. If 3 is k, 4 is k plus 1. If 4 is k, 5 is k plus 1. So what I'm doing is I want to evaluate grade number k to grade number k plus 1. I'm always going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I need some sort of selection statement inside of here that will evaluate whether or not that is the correct range. All right, well, I need to do something with this, which means the first thing I need to do is I need to increase our counter. So I'm going to say that our counter is k plus 1. All right, so I want to evaluate. If I look at k, the first time I go through this, k was 0 to begin with, so now we're going to increase k by 1. So what I want to look at is grade number 1 and grade number 2. So this is k plus 1. If the number that I enter is between those two values, then we're in the right range. All right, so we need to ask the user for input. So we'll say something like, what is the numerical score? And we're going to put that into num numeric score. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take whatever their numeric score is, and then we need to compare that to those two ranges. So my selection statement down here is going to be if num numeric score is greater than or equal to the minimum value in the range, which is going to be grade number K, and num numeric score is less than grade number K plus 1. So what this is if K is 1, then we're going to compare the minimum value for the first range and the minimum value for the second range. And if that's true, if both of these are true, that would mean that it has to be between those two ranges, therefore I'm in the right range. Which means that I can declare that I found it. So I can say that str is found is yes. Okay, now I can also keep track of what the correct range is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another variable that is just simply keeping track of what the location is for. So I'm going to say like num grade index. So just so we know what the index number is. And we're going to set that equal to whatever was in K. So that way as we go through the program, it'll find the location of it, and then it'll tell us what K was. So like if I entered a grade of 24, then when I first go through it, I'm going to compare 0 and 60. Yes, it's in that range, so therefore this one range is where we are. So therefore if 1 is our index, then I received an F. Alright, so now if I use that variable, I need to declare it. So I'm going to say num, and I call it grade index. We start that off at 0. Alright, so those are just simply declaring the variables. And let's go ahead and comment these. Okay, so that's declaring variables, and then this is populate arrays. That way you can tell where the declaring ends. Alright, so we're populating the arrays. We're going to ask the user for input. They tell us a score. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the program and figure out what range they're in. Alright, so I'm not done with the program yet, but I just want to start it off so you can see what happens. Alright, so I'm populating the grade number array. Okay, there's all my grades for the grade number array. Then our grade letter array, we have F, D, C, B, A. Alright, so what is the numerical score? So let's say I got an 85, just like we did before. Alright, so what we're going to do is we go through, is K, which is 0, equal to the length of grade number, which is 5 minus 1. So is K equal to 4? No. Therefore it goes in, it will increase K by 1, so now K becomes 1. It's going to look at grade number 1, which is 0, and grade number 1 plus 1, which is 2, which is 60, and is my number between those two? No. Alright, so it goes to the no side, which meant it just went right back up here to the loop and does it again. Alright, so K is 1, which is not equal to 4, so therefore it's going to run again. It will increase K by 1. Now we're going to look at 2 and 3. Alright, so 2 is 60, 3 is 70. No, it's not in that range, so it goes back up and checks again. Okay, so now K is 3. We're going to look at 3 and 4. So 3 and 4 are 70 and 80. Is that the correct range? No, so we go back up again. Now, my score that I entered is 85, which means that if I look at K, K is 4, which is 80. K plus 1 is 90, so my 85 is between the 80 and 90. Therefore, 4 must be the correct range. Alright, so now what we're going to do is when I step into this, it says, oh hey, I found it. Okay, not only did I find it, but we're also going to specify that the grade index is K. And so now we have something that is keeping track of what the index is. This is called a register. It's a variable there just to hold the value for a while for something else. Alright, so we have the index is now 4. Now, if I had entered a lower value initially, it would have kept going through the loop until it exhausted all of the possible loops. Alright, so we can in this case, it's going to finish because it's going to say, is k equal to 5 minus 1, which is 4? Yes, it is. So it just exits. But what this does for me is it shows me that this is correct in finding the correct k. So now what I want to do is I want to make it where it outputs the grade. Okay, so we have a couple of things we need to clean up a little bit, but for right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an output that just simply says the grade, let's say the letter grade is, and then we're going to put in grade letter, and then it's not k, but it is num grade index. So that's what's keeping track of it. And we'll put up here, just make it look nice. Let's see, the letter grade is plus, oh, I got an extra set of double quotes right there. Alright, so now we're going to output the letter grade. So if I were to actually let this run, slow it down just a little bit so you can watch it run. Okay, it populates the arrays. So if I look at the two arrays, then we can see what it's doing here. Alright, I'm going to enter a grade of 82, just to be different. Okay, so it's going to go through and it's going to evaluate, and let's pause this so I can walk through. Okay, so we're on k is 3 now. It's going to increase k to 4. Now k is 4, now it means we're looking between 80 and 90. So is my number greater than or equal to 80 and less than 90? Yes, it is. So therefore it's going to say, hey, it was found, and then the num grade index is k. Alright, so we're keeping track of that. Alright, so now when we go through the loop, now we go down here at the bottom and we say the letter grade is, and then we specify that it's a B. Alright, so I have a slight problem. That works. But what if I get a grade of, let's say, 99? Alright, so populate the arrays. Expand this so you can see them. 99. It's going to go through, and we're going to let it go up until k is 3. Okay, so k is 3 right now, so is 3 equal to 4? No, so we go into our loop, we increase it to 4. Now the problem is that it evaluated, was my 99 between 80 and 90? No, it wasn't. So the problem is now, though, that I specify that k is equal to 4, and here we say that k is equal to length of grade number minus 1, which is 4. So if k is 4, it's done. Okay, the problem is that it's going to say the letter grade is, and then the grade letter is going to be num grade index of 0. Do I have an index of 0? No, I don't. Therefore, my program is actually going to get an error when it tries to run that. Okay, so what I need to do at the very end here is I need another selection statement. And so my selection statement is going to be something like, if str is found is equal to no, or if it's not equal to y. So let's actually do it. Let's say if it's not equal to capital Y, then what we're going to do is we're going to specify that the grade index must be an A. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say that num grade index must be grade index of 5. So it's going to do this. It's going to say, hey, we didn't find it in that loop, so therefore it must be that last one. And then there we go. So we can run it. Okay, so same thing as last time. We're populating the arrays. I'm going to type in a grade of 99. It's going to go through and evaluate this over and over again. Make it run a little faster. Okay, so what it ended up doing was, if you notice, the num grade index is 5 because we told it that if it doesn't find it, this must be the index, and now the user got an A. Now there are some other ways that you could do this. The other way would make it a little bit shorter, and we could assume that their grade number or the grade letter is automatically an A, and then that way if we didn't actually overwrite that A with something else, then it became an A. The problem with that is if your logic breaks for your program and it accidentally evaluates something wrong, somebody that didn't deserve an A could have actually gotten one, and we don't necessarily want that. So to do this, this whole thing, you need an array to hold the minimum values within the ranges. We don't care about any of the other values in the range, just the minimum. And then we're going to evaluate the minimum between two consecutive ranges by looking at k and k plus 1 as our index numbers. And then what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate all the way up to the very last one. We don't want to evaluate the last one, because if it didn't match any of the others, then it must be that last one. But the only way we can do that is by setting in a flag to state that yes, we found it, or no, we didn't. And if we didn't find it, then we have to manually set it to that last one.